The video you have playing on the screen in front of you 2 inches away from your face is my first anime review. Heyo! I'm SAi-DOL, and if you're new here, I make videos about idols and otaku stuff, and I sometimes sing and dance every now and then, and just overall I do whatever I like. But if you're not new, then welcome back to another video. And the subject of today's video is a show I've had put on the back burner for way too long. Oshibudo ite kudetara shinu, or If My Favorite Pop Idol Made It to the Budokan, I Would Die, as it's known in English, is a 12-episode anime series that aired in 2020, based on the manga of the same name by Aoi Hidao. Now that title is quite the mouthful, so for the sake of time and simplicity, I'll be referring to it as Oshibudo. I first started watching this anime in 2020, around the time I was getting into J-pop idols, and when I heard that there was an anime that, pretty accurately I would say, exemplified aspects of idol and wota culture, I just knew I had to watch it. And so I did. But only episode 1. Yeah, I never finished it. I have a super bad habit of just starting anime and then never finishing them. But earlier this year, I remembered that this show existed, and so I made it a point to finish it once and for all. Granted, it took me a couple of weeks because I was very inconsistent with it. But I did it, and I liked it, and so I want to talk about it. Oshibudo follows the story of Eripio, a young adult woman who, by all metrics, lives a pretty normal life. That was until she saw a local idol group performing at a park after being handed a flyer by one of the members. And that idol group is called Cham Jam. They are what are known as underground idols, or chica idols. Chica idols, unlike mainstream idols with backing by large companies, are managed by small teams with even smaller budgets. They can even be self-produced at times, so even worse if you're talking from just a purely financial standpoint. The main focus of their activities consists of live performances and fan interactions. And while chica idols can still strive for commercial success, the cold hard truth is that the vast majority of them do not make it past the small live houses they frequent. Cham Jam are a group with 7 members, but the member that gave Eripio the flyer and ultimately captured her attention and all-consuming undying love is Mina, the least popular and shyest member of the group who is always tucked away to the back of the stage. Eripio is Mina's #1 fan. Well, granted, she is her only fan. At Eripio's first live, she met another fan of Cham Jam that had been there since debut, named Kumasa. He is their ultimate wota and a walking encyclopedia for anything idol-related. His Oshi is Reo, the center and the most popular member. After this chance encounter, Eripio goes off the walls and fully commits to supporting Mina. So much so that she spends all of her disposable income on Mina merchandise, CDs, and attending live shows. Her regular wardrobe even gets whittled down to just a red tracksuit as she can't afford any other clothes. To sustain this new lifestyle, Eripio takes up a multiple of a wide variety of odd jobs. But her most consistent place of employment is at a bakery. Eripio and Kumasa meet a brand new Cham Jam fan, Motoi, who Oshi's Sodane, Reo's right-hand gal and part of the top 3. Throughout the series, Eripio and friends get into various shenanigans and interact with other idol fans. And we also get to follow the idols and their staff and see what goes on behind the scenes. This is the absolute most basic premise of the show. This going back and forth between perspectives from the idol and the fan side of the industry is quite interesting. Usually, idol anime only focuses on the idols and is a very friendship, yeah, sort of ordeal. But very rarely do you actually get a glimpse of what the wotas feel and how they factor into all of this. And when idol fans do get portrayed in these shows, they are often fat, sweaty, crusty, dusty, and musty old men. Now, do fans like this actually exist in real life? Well, yeah, maybe a little bit. But in Oshibudo, the show humanizes them. And while yes, we still see some of the negative stereotypes, we see that they're really all just regular people, coming together for one joint cause and one joint love. I've already introduced the main wota cast, so let's take a look at the idols now, shall we? Reo is the leader and center of Cham Jam, and her member color is pink. In the idol world, the position as center of a group is highly coveted, and it's pretty easy to understand why. As center, you are the, center of attention, and you're often given the best outfits, longer singing parts in songs, more opportunities outside of the group like advertisements and other entertainment gigs, and you're usually the most popular. However, later on in the show, we find out that Cham Jam was not Reo's first venture into idolhood. She used to be in another group, where she was actually in the same position as Mina. Reo used to be the least popular member in her old group, and as for the center then, we actually get to see her later in the final arc of the show, so remember that. But back to Reo, I really like how they handled Reo's character in the series. Usually how these things go where there's like a group of girls with a power imbalance, it's usually that the girl at the top is mean to the girl at the bottom. But in this case, Reo is actually very kind to Mina because she used to be just like her and knows what it's like to feel that no matter how much effort you put into your work, you will never shine as bright as the center. I truly was expecting the worst, but was pleasantly surprised. Sodane is the second most popular member. Oh, by the way, I'm doing this in order of popularity ranking, as this is also how the girls are often ordered and introduced to us in the show. Her member color is blue, and she is the sporty archetype, as she plays tennis. She is the idol that supporting main character Motoi is not just a fan of, but is in every sense truly, absolutely, madly in love with her. Motoi is what is known as a gachikoi, a fan of an idol that develops very real romantic feelings for them. You can be a fan of someone and not show any romantic attraction to them. But Motoi is a gachikoi through and through, and he is deep into that kind of life. But also, Sodane doesn't do much to break the delusion. Instead, she actually plays it up because she knows if she does this sort of girlfriend experience fan service, that her fans will be more likely to spend money on her merchandise and in her meet and greets. Now this can raise some ethical questions, like is it okay to be playing with people's emotions like this? Some people might say no, and others will say it's all a part of the unwritten social contract you sign by virtue of just being a fan. During fan meetings, Sodane will often tell Motoi things like, "You better not cheat on me," and "I like my fans who are loyal to me." And of course, he eats it up and coughs up his money in exchange for those sweet, sweet little moments with her. Maki is the sexy and mature member, and her color is yellow. She is what rounds up the top 3 most popular in Jam Jam. She is always at the front, but is also willing to share her spotlight. She's kind of like the mom in the group and is the de facto mediator during moments when things get heated. She is always looking out for everyone else, but especially Yumeri. She is the best dancer in the group, and her member color is purple. And they're girlfriends. While competition makes up a pretty big plot point in the story, Yumeri is not trying at all to climb up the ranks and become more popular. She is just shy of being in the top 3, as she's ranked 4th, and is more than content with being and staying in that position. In fact, we actually see her feel guilty when, spoiler alert, she is ranked number 3 at one point in the popularity poll, and for a short time beat out Maki and got a chance to perform in her place at the front of the stage. She believes that Maki, and only Maki, deserves to be there and felt immense guilt for having otherwise. While it's not explicitly stated in the anime, I think it's safe to assume that Yumeri has some sort of imposter syndrome or an otherwise greater inferiority complex. Whenever other characters point out just how proficient she is at dancing, for example, she downplays it to make herself seem less special. Yuka's member color is white. We don't actually get to see a lot of Yuka in the anime. She is treated as more of a minor character. Her personality is that of someone who presents as a bit full of herself and that can't read the room. She can be a bit crass and often says the wrong thing, but to her fans, that is exactly her charm. Out of the whole group, she is the closest with Aya. They gossip a lot and are a little messy. They sometimes both say things that sabotage how the members feel about each other and their circumstances. I honestly thought they were sisters at first with just how close they are. Aya is the shortest member of Jam Jam. Her member color is green, and she is the Imoto archetype. Imoto in Japanese literally translates to little sister, and that describes her public-facing persona pretty well. But behind the scenes, she is very bossy. She is often yelling at the other members to pick up the pace and do better during their practice sessions. One can even say that she pushes them a bit too hard at times, but she does this all because she wants Jam Jam to succeed. Aya also works at a maid cafe for some extra cash and more fans. In Japan, maid cafe culture is very similar to idol culture in the way that people will latch onto their favorite maid and spend their money and time relentlessly to support them and show their allegiance. This often comes in the form of taking checkies with the maids in a very similar fashion to idols, and just coming into the cafe specifically requesting their favorite maid. Many maid cafes will also have individual maid merchandise and a popularity ranking system that pits the maids against each other to work harder, gain more fans, and for the fans to shovel more money into the business. I would love to make a whole video on the evolution of maid cafe culture someday. It is so fascinating. And lastly, we have Mina, the least popular member, and her color is salmon pink. She's shy and quiet, but wishes she could do more. She's also easily intimidated by strong personalities, so when she meets Eripio and experiences the full extent of her craziness, she is reserved around her, and while she appreciates her diehard support, she can never quite find the right words to thank her. As the series progresses though, she slowly grows fond of Eri and even wants to become her friend. Through Eripio's love, she grows as a person, and her main goal is not to blow up and then act like she don't know nobody, but instead to try and become better each and every day. For her. This show also has a colorful cast of side characters. Apart from all the other unnamed wotas, we also have the staff. All 3 of them. They all think Edipio is crazy, but still admire her passion for Mina and are always amazed at her antics. Rena, Motoi's younger sister. And I'm just gonna say the quiet part out loud. She looks just like Sorane. Throughout the show, there are many jokes made about Motoi only liking Sorane because she looks like an exact carbon copy of his sister. Brother, And surprise, surprise, Rena also becomes a fan of Mina. Mina initially takes more of a liking to Rena because she's a pretty and young, classy girl. Because of this, Edipio sees her as both a playful rival for Mina's affections, but also as a little sister almost. A newcomer to the scene she can just take under her wing and show the ropes to. Edipio's co-worker. She thinks Eddie is weird for liking idols, but at the same time is obsessed with this one anime boy. Look girl, you two are no different. You're in the same boat. Not even in a different font, you're just the same. But of course, she refuses to see the similarities in their infatuations for people who can never truly reciprocate, so as to not associate with the sticky, yucky idol fans. Ugh. And lastly, we have Edipio's mother. We barely see her mom in the series, but whenever we do, it's always her being annoyed at Eddie's wota antics and just watching it all happen. The show's final act has Chamjam performing at their very first Idol Fest. Idol Fests are big music festivals that can even last multiple days, that involve various idol groups and soloists from all over Japan performing on stage one after another in quick succession. This Idol Fest is seen as the highest achievement in their entire careers. For a small idol group like Chamjam, an appearance in an Idol Fest can be the jumping off point they so desperately need for their career, if done right. Because suddenly, out of nowhere, you have hundreds, if not thousands of more people watching your performance, simply because they're all in one communal space. Because the members of Chamjam understand how big of an opportunity this is for them, they train for it harder than ever before. And right as Chamjam were just about to get on stage, we officially meet Mei, the center of Ryo's old idol group and the current center of the most popular idol group in the region and Chamjam's direct competitor, SAi-DOL. She is so passive-aggressive and rubs it in their face that SAi-DOL will be performing at the Budokan soon. Now don't be fooled, she might look super genki, but it's all just a facade to intimidate the girls. And that would have happened if it weren't for the power of friendship. I said that earlier as a joke, but for real, even this show can't escape its cliches. All the girls huddled up into their little kumbaya friendship circle, said their little motivational speeches, and headed off to the races with a much more positive outlook and all intents of slaying the house boots down. The show ends with Edipio professing her undying love and allegiance to Mina for like the millionth time. Don't you do this like every episode? And her last words were, "Mina, if you made it to the Budokan, I would die." Oh look, she said the title of the show. And roll credits. The ending song for the entire series was a cover of Aya Matsuda's fifth single, Momoido Kato Omoi, sung by Faidu's Ai, the voice actress for Edipio. When researching for this video, I found out that she also voiced Jolene from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Power in Chainsaw Man, so do with that information what you will. Now, I never skip an anime opening, but I do often skip the endings unless they're like super outstanding. And for this anime, it was no different. But for some reason, I decided to stick around and listen to the ending song in full for the very last time, and I was a bit shocked to hear that it was slightly different. Instead of it only being Ai's voice, it was a duet with Tachibana Hina, the voice actress of Mina. Oh my god, here come the waterworks. After the success of the anime, Oshibudo actually got a live-action adaptation in 2022, and a live-action movie in 2023. Now I found out about this after I finished watching the show and started writing the first draft of this script. I knew I would be pushing back the production of this video by taking the time to watch both, and that's exactly what happened. Yes, I watched all versions of this show. I wanted to make sure that this video was as all-encompassing as possible. The only media I didn't consume was the manga, and even then, I'm considering reading it one day. I actually really liked the live action. It didn't feel super forced and followed the anime almost to a T, except for some very minor yet interesting changes. Another thing I liked is that they kept the live action very animated. The creators were most likely making fun that this was an adaptation of an anime and that the events and antics that go down are very outlandish. So whenever a character displays a funny and strong emotion, little animations will appear and interact with them. My favorite was this one scene where Motoi's soul physically leaves his body through his mouth and Kumasa and Edipio are just standing there like,
"Oh, she passed away? Oh. Alright."
Overall, I think the live action was great. But the most glaring difference it had compared to the anime was that it, and this is all my opinion and observation, was made with non-idol fans in mind. The live action has much more basic explanations of idol culture and even has these cute little cards that appear on screen that give little definitions and examples. Whereas I think the anime was made for people who were already idol fans, or at the very least had some basic foundational knowledge. I actually think this is a good thing though. Having the same story but adapted to suit different audiences can only do good in the way of exposure for the series. And if it helps more people to discover idol music and the culture behind it, then by all means. And lastly, we have the live action movie. I don't know what I was expecting, but for some reason I thought it'd be the same retelling of the whole series, but just condensed into an hour-and-a-half runtime. But to my surprise, it was actually a continuation, showing what became of Cham Jam after the Idol Fest. So now we have a whole new storyline to follow. I had originally written a whole summary of the movie plot for this part, but now I decided against it because I don't want to take away from the experience of watching it yourself. It was so good. I loved it. Dare I say, I liked it a little bit more than the others. Not that I don't love the series, but this movie just had more oomph to it. It was a much more effective underdog story, where we see Mina experiencing the full breadths of the highs and lows of being an idol. Without a doubt, this movie was the most Mina-centric the series has ever been. She's not just a shy supporting main character, but also a person with very real doubts and feelings. We also see her undergo the most dramatic growth, and now she is a more active participant within the group as well, and actually has an effect on their success. One thing I found super cool about the actors they cast to play Cham Jam is that some of them are actually idols. Momo, who plays Sodane, Kano, who plays Maki, Soyo, who plays Yumeri, and Gumi, who plays Yuka, are all members of the idol group 1-5 that debuted on October 20th, 2019. 1-5 are the final spin-off of the group Sakura Gakuen, the group with a school concept that birthed Baby Metal. 1-5's concept is described as Japanese classy crush. You can find their music on pretty much every major streaming service and watch their music videos all on YouTube. They're all very talented and the music is very good. It's actually so different from the music in the show, so it was very interesting seeing them in this new context. And the actress that was cast to play Eripio was a former idol herself. Matsumuda Sayuri was a former founding member of the group Nogisaka 46. They debuted on February 22nd, 2012, and she graduated from the group on July 13th, 2021. This was her in their debut music video. By 2023, all the first-generation members of Nogisaka 46 have since graduated, and while Nogi has 5 other generations to continue their legacy with and sister groups, it's always sad to see them go. I like how they had real either currently active or retired idols take part in this show. It makes it feel almost more real, and I bet they could relate to at least some of the scenes. As a fan of idols for many years, I can say pretty matter-of-factly that if you are somebody that wants to get into idols but just hasn't, that this is an essential text for your journey. And the reason why I say this is not only because it's very informative and gets you a lay of the land of what the idol industry is like, but also because it's realistic. Still. Somehow. In most other idol shows, it's all about group of girls come together, there's a bump in the road, but with the power of friendship, they become famous idols, woohoo, the end. But in Oshibudo, you don't get much of that. There are days where there are more people on stage than in the crowd. You're an idol in the same group as everybody else, but your merch line is perpetually empty. Your lack of supporters makes you feel discarded and like your presence means nothing. There is internal jealousy amongst the members and also external competition with other groups. You struggle to be seen, let alone get people to come to your shows. You put in so much work for so little payoff and even have to get a second job because it's just not enough. You get hurt both physically and emotionally. You see the goalpost and you reach for it, but you know the odds are always stacked against you. Man, this sounds miserable, doesn't it? But these girls do it all every single day because they each have found their own reasons to keep going. And the little fans they do have will be walking behind them every step of the way, wherever that may lead. I hope you enjoyed your time listening to me yap about Oshibudo. I really regret not finishing the series sooner, but hey, better late than never. If this has piqued your interest, I suggest you watch everything, stream the music, read the manga, etc. The full OSTs are on streaming services as well as all of Cham Jam's music. The live-action actresses even made little dance videos just as their characters, so that's cool. And apparently the live-action is on Tubi of all places. I just decided to mention that because I thought it was funny. And as I was filming this video, news came out that Oshibudo would be turned into a musical stage play. The theatrical run began on February 20th, 2026 and ended on March 1st. A good chunk of the cast comprised of members from the real idol group SKE48. The final performance was live streamed, and I really hope that they decide to release a recording of this play on DVD for all the peeps that couldn't go or catch the stream. They did, however, release the OST on streaming, and a physical CD release is set for April 22nd, 2026, and it includes completely original songs that were not featured in either the anime or the live-action film adaptations, so it's been very cool experiencing a new addition to the Oshibudo cinematic universe. If you like this video, then go ahead and leave a like and subscribe for more content such as this, and also just leave me any suggestions for future videos. I'm not making any promises, but you never know. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video very soon. But until then, bye bye, and sweet dreams.